Kaboom is the 6th episode of the 2nd season of Parks and Rec. This is directed by Charles McDougall, and as always there will be spoilers from now as I talk through the episode and share some thoughts. And I thought this was a pretty decent episode and actually quite clever with the direction it took. I wasn't expecting it to go where it did, and I found it to be rather satisfying. It starts off with this Kaboom organisation building a playground. Their approach is that they can build a playground in one day, and it's actually really great seeing everybody working together and building this playground. Not a bad way to start things. And then Leslie decides that she wants to kaboom the pit and just get it done, and Mark encourages her to do just that. She rents the bulldozer. She and Dan are at the pit. They're about to fill the pit in, and the person who's operating the bulldozer or whatever it is drops a bunch of dirt into the pit, about to fill it in, and it turns out that Andy was in the pit. Is he still sleeping in the pit? And then obviously he's in hospital. He's not badly injured. It's definitely not like the last time he was injured in the pit. And unfortunately, he gets the wrong end of the stick with Anne, because Anne is nursing him. She's a nurse. That's her job. She's looking after him. But he takes that for a different kind of affection. And he thinks he's getting back together with Anne. And while he's in hospital, we have this really interesting moment. I think this is one of my favourite parts of the episode. Leslie is taking him a balloon and a stuffed pig, because why wouldn't you? And it turns out that Andy might be suing the city for the fact that he was injured in the pit again. And because of this, Leslie isn't allowed to even apologise to him. And it's really clear that she's struggling to not say sorry, since it was, kind of her fault. They really should have checked the pit first, but at the same time, you don't expect somebody to be in the pit. And it was clear that she wanted to say sorry, but that would be like admitting guilt, and it was a really difficult situation, but I think it played out really well, and it feels very believable. And it's maybe not completely clear at that point what is ultimately going to happen. What I didn't expect, there were a few elements of surprise in this episode, is when Andy, released from hospital quite quickly, turns up on Anne's doorstep naked, because Anne called him over, really so that Leslie could talk with him to try and get him to drop the lawsuit. But Andy thought that Anne wanted something else, and he arrives naked. And there was definitely an element of surprise there. And he explains, when Anne is not in the room, he explains to Leslie that he's suing the city so he can get the money because Anne wants a partner with financial stability. So he's not actually, he's doing it for himself in the sense that it's to get what he wants, and what he wants is Anne, but he doesn't want the money because he wants the money. So it's kind of not selfish, but also kind of is. And Leslie comes up with a plan, and I didn't see this coming. With hindsight, maybe it seems like an obvious solution, but for me, it's definitely not something that I saw coming. I really enjoyed the progression. The next thing we know, Andy and Leslie are talking with a lawyer, and Andy has dropped the charges, and I was still not sure where they were going with this. But then it became clear, and I really enjoyed where it went, because I will drop the charges, but I have some conditions. And the main condition was that they fill the pit. And that makes perfect sense. He was injured in the pit, so they can appease him by filling the pit so nobody else gets injured. Logically, that actually makes perfect sense. And they agreed to this term, and they get to go ahead with that. And I thought it was pretty interesting, and I didn't see it coming. As I said, maybe with the benefit of hindsight, it seems slightly predictable, but I didn't. I certainly didn't see it coming. If anybody else were to say they did, then fair enough, but it was certainly a surprise for me. And I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was pretty decent. Definitely unexpected, unpredictable. Not a bad episode at all. Kaboom was pretty entertaining.